So the exhibition draws on the past 6 to 7 years of research that I did in Southeast Asia on land reclamation and urban development in the region. It looks at mostly Chinese-financed smart eco-cities and island projects that never materialized because other more lucrative business opportunities were discovered. So the islands were never finalized. They are in decay and new ecologies are emerging on these sites. So I'm very interested not just in the way urban futures are imagined, but specifically in their afterlives and what happens when eco-smart cities never get inhabited, when they fall into decay, and then when they provide breeding ground for alternative futures. Often when we think about sustainable and smart futures, we think of exactly this. This is a display and a wallpaper that is designed based on renders of eco-smart cities found on the internet. These are all real projects, or at least this is how some of these projects are sold. It's not clear whether they ever come into being, but the imaginary and also the image is very strong and is circulating widely. On the screen you see an animation done with VO2, which is an AI video generating model. And it shows the same eco-smart cities prompted through some of the generic descriptions of how those futures look like. And what you can see is that it almost looks identical, the real projects and the AI-generated animation of projects. And this is exactly, I guess, what I'm aiming for, to show how these futures are highly generic, how those visuals generate across the world without any connection to place, and how they become operationalized also as the futures that we imagine. So we don't see a difference here between what is generated based on the databases the model is trained on and what the designers actually imagine. So it becomes the same. The image becomes the imaginary and the other way around. In Southeast Asia, many of the eco-smart cities are built on reclaimed land, and the most important ingredient for that land is sand. Sand is a highly contested resource in Southeast Asia because it's rather short there in supply and it's often mined illegally. So its trading and its procurement and its application in land reclamation is a very problematic issue in the region. This image series brings together some of my fieldwork in Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia and Singapore around the chain of production of land. It looks at the sand mining in the Mekong Delta and the consequences that arise from it, like heavy erosion. But it also looks at the way land is then designed, for example here in Singapore, where sand is being stored in large facilities behind high walls for the future when sand might become short or too expensive. And we end with an artificial island in Malaysia, and you can see the very laborious process of creating the land. White Elephant is a 2-channel video installation set in Malacca in Malaysia, and it portrays the failed Malacca Gateway reclamation project. This project has been ongoing since about 10 years with stops and goes every now and then. It was imagined to be 3 islands, out of which only 1 was reclaimed, and the development never really took off. So the film work shows what is happening there instead. The silted coastline, piles of sand waiting, processing, It shows how siltation has overhauled the whole coastline, but it also shows how locals have adapted the landscape and how they use the artificial dunes that were created from piles of sand that were parked there, how they use those dunes as a leisure landscape, and they take pictures there and upload them to Instagram. So the work is both a portrait of the failure of the project and the environmental devastation brought about, but it also shows the way how local communities cope with these projects and their afterlives. This is my most recent work, Overcast. It is set in Forest City in Johor, Malaysia. It's an artificial island and eco-smart city that was built in just 5 years, but it never got fully inhabited. In fact, it was built for 700,000 inhabitants, and there are barely 10,000 people living there, not even permanently. At the same time, the island is slowly eroding and the buildings start to show cracks. The streets are collapsing because it was built in such a rush. And the film work focuses on those who still live and thrive in Forest City, stray animals, mangroves, birds, all kind of creatures that returned or came to the island because of the large empty space available. It's a portrait of those for whom this island was never meant to be a home, but they occupy it nevertheless.